hard. Right guy, just got the sandwich. I feel pretty comfortable. This one, good work. Nobody wants it more than you, Bill. I'm so damn proud of you and this team.
And welcome into another episode of Historic Hot Laps. I'm your host, Alex Daniels. We've got a few things to talk about today. Not a real long episode, but we'll cover some news, some race recaps, and a history lesson about one of the greatest to have done it and never have won it. So yeah, let's jump right into it with the race recaps. We had a couple big things going this last weekend. It was NASCAR weekend at Phoenix. You had Xfinity Series and Cup Series there. Starting out with the Xfinity Series, you had Stage 1 with Alex Bowman, who's driving that number 17 Hendrick Cars Chevrolet part-time entry, the fill-in car that they run. He got the stage win there in Stage 1, which is awesome to see. Stage 2, you had Little Gator, Mr. Justin Allgaier, get that one. Looking like he was going to be pretty strong. You also had kind of some heat coming from Eric Almirola, so that puts us into the final stage with what could be called a questionable finish. Basically, Almirola in the lead, Bowman coming in the charge, looking like it was going to be Bowman's day coming off the chute, and ends up moving him up the track, making somewhat of a dirty finish and walling him, and taking the win for Eric Almirola. So Eric Almirola doing what he's got to do to keep everyone, at JGR happy and keep that car in the points and playoffs and everything else. But as a part-timer, taking out Alex Bowman, who's another part-timer, it's not a huge thing. Now, had he done that move to, say, Allgaier, someone who's a full-season driver, I think we would have seen a lot more in the media about it. But either way, I actually am an Almirola fan. I'm not saying I justify and clear the move that he did, but good to see him still getting stuff done. Either way, he was still running up front. Whether he should have got first or second, opinionated is what it is, but he's still got a little skill left in him, so that's awesome to see. So that moves us to the Cup Series. So the biggest thing with this Cup Series race this weekend, the two tire options on this one. So you had the yellow primaries and the red alternates, which are softer compound. Real toss-up for strategy for this traditional 1 mile. We've seen them do the alternate tires on shorter tracks. We saw it at the All-Star race, I believe, less than a mile, but on a mile oval, somewhat a flat track, seeing a compound that's so much softer and worth so many tenths per lap was pretty awesome to see. I definitely shook up things a little bit, but let's get into Stage 1, where we saw William Byron lead the most laps, started on the pole, and got the stage win. So Stage 1, unanimously William Byron's. Stage 2 goes to Christopher Bell. Obviously, going into this, he had won the last 2 races of the season, getting everyone ramped up. Maybe it's a 3 in a row for him. The last time that he won Stage 2 at Phoenix, he also won the race, so he had the strategy figured out. But you did have the alternate tire compound, right? So you did have something that could change with that. But going to the win, 3 in a row now, Christopher Bell gets it. Man, it was a super good finish. So close with Hamlin and Larson battling with Bell to the end. Seeing the push that Larson was giving to Hamlin, and then Hamlin trying to go around the outside. Had he taken that lower line or pushed a little harder, he probably would have got him. But it's also his teammate, so you got to think about that too. Like, you can make a lot of mistakes and look real stupid if you take out the first and second place cars trying to battle for a win, right? So, and then giving it to Larson if he escapes by or whatever. But there was a good push for all of them. They were all, door defender going across the line. We heard Hamlin's radio at the finish. It's all over the internet, and it's pretty wild, but maybe I'll snip a clip of that in here right now for you.
Hey, bud. Good try, man. Great effort on everybody's part. I know that sucks right now, but appreciate you.
A lot of emotion there coming out of it, but so 3 in a row. Last one to do it in this particular fashion was Kevin Harvick in 2018. I think Larson also got 3 in a row in 2021, but I thought they were like a mid-season deal or something. But definitely nobody doing it on a super speedway, on a road course, in a traditional 1 mile oval. So Bell is just having, he's in his prime. This is probably going to be one of the best seasons of his career, leading up to where we're seeing now. And yeah, so we know Bell's a superstar. He's doing great. He's also, maybe now that he's allowed to drive open wheel cars on the dirt, running sprint cars and stuff like he's been doing, maybe that's playing into this a little bit too and keeping him sharp. But let's listen to a few reactions from the podium sitters and thoughts on how this all ended up.
No, I think out 6 where we picked, but we got through 1 and 2 really good, and then I just slipped a little bit. I didn't really know how much racetrack I had to use, so kind of lost momentum there, and then it was kind of just stuck in the middle a little bit. So yeah, just happy with the fact we were able to get back up there. Just good teamwork and yeah.
I feel like in the next era, and for them doing 3 rows, really impressive. Their team is just strong. Their race cars are really fast. Bell's a phenomenal race car driver, obviously. So, the more wins you get, the more confidence you as well as your team gets. And yeah, he's getting to go to Vegas, another track where he's stupid fast at. So yeah, and then what is it, Homestead maybe after that? So I don't know where we go after Homestead, but I'm sure we'll be fast there as well. So yeah, it's good too to get on a streak this early in the year. Was he won 3 out of the first 5? 3 of the first 4. 3 of the first 4. Wow. So yeah, it just sets your season up in a good spot. I feel like we had a lot of hope in what we brought here this weekend, and there was definitely times of the race and the weekend where I thought I was better, but relative to the field, I feel like we were a little bit worse. So. Which is good, it's good to be that way. It's good to not be exactly how you want to be because it leaves a lot of room for improvement. And there's a lot of smart people in motorsports that will, dig down deep and try to figure some more things out. So.
Right, that puts us in our last little bit of the race recap here. We had World of Outlaws, 2 different tracks, 2 different nights. You had the Talladega Short track where Bill Balog ends up getting a win. After all this time in this series, he's only had 1 other win in his career with the World of Outlaws. Gets his 2nd victory. A true veteran of the league and the sport, but just never dominating. But he got that one done, so congrats to him on that.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. I can't tell you how hard these things are to win. I mean, I've been doing this a long time and kind of on and off, with the Outlaws and stuff. And yeah, just unbelievable. We had a great car. We made the right decisions. I didn't think we were, quite good enough there. A couple times throughout the night, heat race and dash. So did a couple things that we would do at other tracks similar shape. So, but yeah, I got to thank Anderson's Maple Syrup, all the sponsors, everybody. It's just.
That moves us over to Magnolia Motor Speedway, where, again, there's no stopping him. David Gravel, King David, does it again, dominates the night. Started in the front, ended in the front. His team just had the whole thing lined up, and he's also having another great career season. So could be a good high for him. That win actually puts him on the list, going from 8th place to 7th of the all-time sprint car national wins. Steve Kinzer holds number 1, and I don't think there's enough years left in Gravel's life to beat that record, or anybody's for that matter. But Gravel being the 7th of all time for national sprint car wins, that's pretty awesome. So congrats to him and his team on that.
I wish I had a rear view mirror or a spotter, but I didn't know where to run. I felt like it was the top, and then Skylar G had a really good pace and was running low in 1 and 2 and kind of running away from me in 1 and 2, and I felt like the top was better in 3 and 4. But when I moved down, I felt good in both lanes, and then on that last restart, kind of fell out of the racetrack. And man, once you get spinning here, you don't want to spin too long, and I kind of went low and then kind of got back to the top, and just had momentum there at the end and protected in the last corner. So I have no idea if anybody was close to me or not at the end on the last lap, but I saw Sheldon was there in the 41, and those guys are good racers. So I truly was just winging it, just trying to base it off the lap cars and just change it up here and there and see what felt good and what didn't. And
all right, y'all, let's kick it off with some news. Not a big news week this week, but we did have a few things we want to talk about. Biggest thing, Formula One news. Breaking news for the 2025 season begins is that in 2026, you will see a team from Cadillac. We've covered this a lot on the show, who their drivers are going to be, everything else, but the application has been fully approved by the FIA. So now we can do some true speculation on who the drivers will be. Supposedly, rumor is there's 4 different guys they're looking at. Colton Herta is obviously one of those, and I don't know who the others are officially, but let's make our podcast prediction now and see if we could put some money on this. That would be something else, the betting odds of who they're going to pick. But here at Historic Hot Laps, we're going to say Colton Herta teamed up with veteran Daniel Ricciardo. We know that Daniel Ricciardo is a friend of the IndyCar paddock with a lot of guys. They have a little bit of a relationship, maybe not real close, but I feel like that'd be a good team combo. Colton Herta has come out and said that he's focused on IndyCar, whether or not the F1 thing happens this year. He's focused on IndyCar, which he needs to be because he's got to keep that super license, which we talked about a few episodes ago, but keep those points up. But yeah, that's our prediction. Colton Herta, Daniel Ricciardo, write it down. That's who we predict will be in that car in 2026. We'll wait for some announcements and see how wrong or right we are. Moving on from there, the only other F1 thing to talk about today is Stefano Domenicali He will remain the president and CEO of Formula One through the 2029 season. They made this announcement the morning of the Australian Grand Prix, warm-ups going into that race weekend, which we have coming up as we record this. I believe there's cars on tracks practicing right now. So yeah, it's good to know CEO and everything's going to stay the same. Obviously, the momentum that Formula One has right now is untouched. So knowing that they're gonna take over with that and keep that momentum going is a great thing for motorsport. Moving over to NASCAR news, just a couple things. Austin Cindric has been fined and docked points for his actions in COTA with that right hook on Ty Dillon. Basically came out and said, yeah, I did it on purpose. He'll be docked 50 points and fined $50,000. Kyle Busch had some words to say covering this topic, so let's hear that out real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I did it once and maybe twice. Got off with it the first time, but definitely not the second time. I sat out a whole weekend, 2 more races the second time. So, that's not his first offense. I don't know if it's his second offense. So, like I said, some guys get off based off of who I think their last name is. Yeah, I mean, Bubba got it right at Vegas. I've had it before, so I think there's a couple other guys that have had it. Okay, thank you. Yeah. You should know that going in, right? You want to pull that move, you're going to know that going in. I would not want to be in that business if I was NASCAR. Calling balls and strikes is not who I want to be if I'm a NASCAR official. Intent is intent. Put it in the rule book. A right hook will result in 1 race suspension.
So yeah, I mean, if you're going to right hook somebody, you're going to pay the consequence. And honestly, 50 points is probably worse than the fine for him because, they do great on super speedways and stuff like that. But, his average running points per race is 15, 20 points, 25 maybe. So at best case, that's 2 races worth of points he's going to lose going into it. So I don't know. We'll see how it all pans out. More lawsuit drama with 2311 FRM and NASCAR. Latest is that after seeing what we thought were some pre-agreements, now the agreements are out again. Looks like we're going to trial. I don't know. We'll see what happens with all that. We'll let the fun continue, but just know there's more coming from that drama. Last little bit of news, pretty short news week, is IndyCar news. The only thing we have going on in IndyCar in this off weekend, we've got Thermal coming up, but it did come out that 2-time Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato will make another attempt at the 500 this year. He's going to drive another additional entry for RLL. Kind of no surprise there. That's his team that he goes to for that. And he's not done. I mean, he's a madman. He's taken some time off now, so I'm not sure how that's all going to go. He pushes the limits real hard, but he also is in a car every week. Now that he's not pushing those limits might be a little interesting, but yeah, we'll just see. But I'm glad to see he's going to make another attempt.
Yes, unfortunately, the 67 season, the chassis was good. Engine-wise, we really struggled, but it was quite reliable, and I had a number of thirds, and I think finished 4th in the World Championship or something. 68, when the car was more on the pace, had a number of poles, led a number of races and finished very little. But the 67 season I really enjoyed actually, because I had some great races with people like Jack Brabham. Almost every race Jack and I seemed to end up having a ding dong, and Jack was a very let's say entertaining guy to race with.
Hey, what's up everyone? Let's do our history segment for this week. It's been a little bit since we've done a good history lesson, history segment, whatever you want to call it. But this week we're going to talk about one of the greatest to have never won in Formula One, and that's Chris Amon. Christopher Arthur Amon, born July 20th, 1943, and passing away August 3rd, 2016. Born in New Zealand. Amon was born in Bulls, New Zealand. He attended I'm going to butcher the name of this, but the Wanganui Collegiate School. His parents were sheep farmers, which was pretty cool. He's the only child of the sheep farming couple. Learned to drive on the farm by age 6. Persuaded his dad to buy him an Austin A40 Special and start getting into racing at a very young age. He was known for his skill behind the wheel, competed in Formula One from 1963 to 1976, regarded by his peers and those who saw him as one of the best drivers to never actually get a Grand Prix win. Amon won in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1966, 24 Hours of Daytona in 1967. He had a lot of other wins coming up through the ranks and points championships and whatnot, which we'll cover. So let's start out early days. Born and raised in Bold, New Zealand, Amon learned to drive at age 6 and initially began competing in hill climbing races before he went on to start driving in national competitions in 1962. The first team that he joined was Reg Parnell Racing, and then the following year, after joining a national circuit, he made his debut in Formula One at the Monaco Grand Prix. So pretty quick ladder program there for him. There wasn't a real Rookie of the Year type position for those championships back then, but everybody knew he was the best coming up, and had there been a points championship for Rookie of the Year, he would have definitely won it. He was signed from there. He popped into Formula One every few races, had a couple of things. Dutch Grand Prix, had a nice 5th place finish in 1964, and kept all the way up through 1965 with intermittent results in average races. Became a test driver after that for McLaren, and then moved over into the sports car racing scene after winning the 24-hour Le Mans in 1966. A lot of achievements, getting his first podium at the Monaco Grand Prix. Amon was renowned for his poor luck in Formula One, losing out on several World Championship race wins due to mechanical faults. He led a lot of laps and never got a win. Over 14 seasons, he had 5 pole positions, 3 fastest lap races, and 11 podiums, with 2 wins in 1970 and 1971 in international trophies and not in the actual International Formula One Series, so they didn't count. 2 awards of Formula One victory. Amon also won the Tasman Series in 1969 with Scudera. In 1962, Amon entered the Cooper for the New Zealand Winter Series, but had tons of mechanical problems. However, did take notice that the Scudera Valleche entered him in a similar car and ran in Lakeside, where he performed pretty well. One of the spectators at that race was actually English racing driver Reg Parnell, who persuaded Amon to come to England and race for his team. And in a test at Goodwood, Amon continued to impress and was on pace the Goodwood International Trophy in the 200 preseason races. So had a good feeling from the get-go. His teams were coming after him, saw his skill, even though he did have some mechanical issues. He's widely regarded as one of the best F1 drivers to have never won a championship or a Grand Prix. He had bad luck for mechanical reasons and all kinds of stuff. Mario Andretti actually took note to joke that if he became an Undertaker, people would stop dying because he had no luck but bad luck. Ferrari technical director at the time stated that Amon was by far the best driver I've ever worked with. He had all the qualities to be world champion, but bad luck just wouldn't let him be. So despite never winning a championship Formula One Grand Prix, Amon won 2 non-championship Grand Prix, the Silverstone International Trophy, the 1,000-kilometer Monza race, Daytona 24 Hours, 6 Tasman Series races, and 1 Series championship. And perhaps the most famous of all those, the 24 Hours de Le Mans, where he was racing with Bruce McLaren. There was a lot of Formula One successful drivers in these series, and he would beat them in all these races, but never could get the luck to get one in the actual Formula One Grand Prix. Amon also remains the only driver from New Zealand to have ever raced for Scudera Ferrari in Formula One. So never again have they reached to that side of the world for a driver. His Formula One record goes as follows. Took part in 96 Grand Prix. He had 5 pole positions, led 183 laps in 7 different races, reaching the podium 11 times and scoring a total of 83 championship points. He holds the record for the most different makes of a car raced by a Formula One championship driver. He ran 13 different manufacturers in his career. Amon came out very opinionated on the safety of the sport going into the darker eras, pointing out that on several occasions he competed and half of the Formula One guys that he was with didn't make it through their careers, survived some serious accidents, and so on. So it became a real advocate for the safety of the sport. In 2008, Motorsport Journal came out and rated Amon as the 13th greatest driver of all time in Formula One. Going back to talking about the safety of everything, Chris would reflect on the death of Jim Clark in 1968, quoted by saying, "If this can happen to Jimmy, what chance do the rest of us have?" I think we all felt that it seemed like we'd lost our leader. He'd go on to be a big advocate and a representation in several different teams and Formula One, keeping safety in mind. And in 1995, he was inducted into the New Zealand Sports Hall of Fame. Amon's name has been dedicated to the Toyota Racing Series Drivers' Championship Trophy and a scholarship to support drivers who win this trophy and further their careers in single-seat racing. This was a big push for Amon and getting younger guys into the sport. The Toyota Racing Series is basically the motorsports version of the Winter Ball in New Zealand during January and February, as he liked to call it. Following his death, he also was dedicated by naming a track after him in Fielding, Manawatu, I think is how you say that, but New Zealand auto course. So pretty awesome, a lot of dedication there. Unfortunately, he did pass away August 3rd, 2016 at the age of 73. He had an outstanding battle with cancer. He was survived by his wife Tish, who they married in 1977. 3 children, grandchildren, and a lot of stuff goes on to that. He's got quite a legacy. Like I said, a lot of respect from a lot of the other drivers that worked with him. So let's review some of his wins, poles, that kind of thing. Let's go through the decades. So 1963, 6 Formula One races. He ran Australian Drivers' Championship races, British Saloon Car Championship, and made a bunch of starts but did not have any good finishes to talk about there. Formula One in 1964, he ran 8 races. Tasman Series, he ran 4. 24 Hours of Le Mans, he ran again in 1964. Ran British Formula 2 in 1965. Formula One again in 1965 for 2 races. 24 Hours of Le Mans as well, driving for Shelby American that year, which was super cool. Running the Can-Am Series for McLaren. He ended up 6th in the points in 1966 for that. British Sports Car Championship. And this was a good one for him, running for Shelby America in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1966. He won that one. Formula One, he ran 2 different races. No good results there. 1967 Formula One, running a full season with Ferrari with 10 races, and in the World Sports Car Championship at 3 races. Also running for Ferrari. Finished 5th in the points for Formula One that year. 12th in the points for the Can-Am Series, where he ran 3 races. 10th in the points for Formula One, driving for Ferrari again in 1968. He would end up 2nd in the Tasman Series that year, and actually scooted right over this 1967, driving for Ferrari. Won the 24 Hours of Daytona, so that was a big one there. Moving to 1969, the Tasman Series, he won a championship there again. Finished 6th in the points in the Can-Am Series and 12th in the points for Formula One. Did not finish 24 Hours of Le Mans that year, but he did drive for Ferrari again. 1970, driving Formula One full season, 8th place. Can-Am Series, 11th place for the season. 1971, Formula One, 11th place. Tasman Series, 5th place. 24 Hours of Le Mans, didn't finish again, more mechanical issues. And again in 1972, same deal there. Same team, same mechanical issues. 10th in the points in 1972 in Formula One. The list goes on and on. He raced so many different things. Went to the Touring Car Championships, 4 different divisions in 1973, driving for BMW, and acquired 2 7th place championship points wins there. Didn't run a full season Formula One that year, but ended up getting 21st overall. Moving on to 1974, he ran just a handful of races. Nothing to really report on there. 1975, went back to the Tasman Series, where he finished 5th in the series. Ran 2 more Formula One races, didn't really accomplish a whole lot with those. And SCCA USAC Formula 5000, he ended up 13th in that division that year. Then ending up Formula One in 1976, running 7 races that season and finishing 18th in the points. So pretty crazy the amount of stuff he did do, and the guys he drove with and everything else. But Bruce McLaren and him winning the 1966 24 Hours of Le Mans will probably always be the highlight. Just incredible stuff. Yeah, he's a good storyteller too, so we're going to take a jump here to end this episode off with some of the stuff that he had to say. But as always, appreciate the listen, like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're on all the platforms. And yeah, till next time, stay safe, and thanks for tuning in.
Tragically, very early on in the season at Monaco, Bandini died, and he and I, well, that was my first Formula One race for Ferrari, actually. Bandini died. The next race we went to was Zandvoort, the Dutch Grand Prix. during which I think I finished third, and he took 3 cars there, one for Parks and one for Scarfiotti as well. Yes, I think I finished third. I'm not sure where they finished. We then went to the Belgium Grand Prix at Spa, and Mike Parks had a huge accident there, which basically finished his career. And at that point, I think Scarfiotti really felt that he'd had enough for the moment, because he'd lost a good mate in Bandini, and Parks and he had driven sports cars together and were good friends. So basically it left me as, having been 3 months before the junior member of the Ferrari team, suddenly I'm pretty much the only member of the Ferrari team, Formula One wise.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to follow us at Historic Hot Laps on X and all your other social platforms for the latest updates and sneak peeks into upcoming episodes. You can reach out to us directly at historichotlaps@gmail.com. Send us your feedback, questions, comments, opinions, and additional subject matter you'd like us to cover. Thanks for tuning in.